Hi everybody, I'm Philip Duncan. Thanks for joining us. Well, we've got high pressure returning after a number of downpours across both islands. In fact, 50 millimetres of rain was recorded in North Canterbury. 40 millimetres of that came in just 1 hour. And the local farmer who just emailed me to tell me about that said a little bit of damage to some tracks and fences, but he said it was well worth it to get that rain. And it's kind of the theme that we've been seeing and what we've been forecasting for this summer. Large areas of big dry with pockets of localised flooding and even flash flooding, and we remain with that forecast even though things are still fairly dry around the country. These big downpours are still popping up and we've got a few more to come, but at the moment high pressure is pushing in here. I've chosen this map kind of to show you how it's coming out of Australia at the moment. And by the way, Sydney for Thursday, they're getting up into the 40s in the western suburbs. How's that for hot weather? So if you think it's been hot in New Zealand, try being over in New South Wales at the moment. But this is the setup for Friday around New Zealand. That high I just showed you drifting further away from Australia, and therefore we've got a westerly wind forming around the South Island, or it's a little bit curvy. It moves through the mountains, so it depends on exactly where you are. Some areas might actually have a little bit of a southerly or a southwesterly. So the winds are moving in from the westerly direction for the most part. In the north we might still see a couple of downpours and maybe one or two elsewhere. Not quite as many as we've seen over the last 24 hours. And by the way, the 7-day forecast for New Zealand rain-wise actually does show more downpours, but we're still drier than average. Even with that rain, we are looking likely to have a drier than average month as well. So that is Friday into Saturday, and the high in charge for most of the North Island. There might be a couple of downpours through the inland areas around the hills and ranges, but it is actually looking fairly dry. There's a light wind here coming out of the southwest for the north, light winds, sea breezes for many other places, and a little bit of rain on the west coast. That's some good news. It'll spill over maybe into some of the hydro areas. Otherwise, it is mostly dry around the South Island. On Sunday, the downpours begin again, and again we're warning of the risk of localised flash flooding or thunderstorms. There might even be a severe thunderstorm popping up because these downpours could be quite heavy, but it's a little too early to just lock that in yet. So we're just saying watch out for maybe some bigger downpours popping up here and there. Once again though, it does look mostly inland on Sunday, and as you can see, sort of the western and northern areas look fairly dry. Next week now, and Monday, again, we've got some more wet weather. There's this low pressure system just out to the east coast there that is going to push a front around the North Island with a southerly change. So again, the temperatures drop and it gets kind of cold for some areas in the South Island. And that's what we were saying yesterday, that we're into this spring-like pattern when we get into next week. And next Tuesday, you can kind of see it building. There's the westerly winds or the southwesterly winds. In the North Island, you've got a southerly flow which is fading away. Not very strong, but it just might just knock back the humidity a little bit. And then when we end here on Wednesday, that's what's coming in later next week. A lot of westerly winds, which is why we're saying it is like a spring pattern. So we're going to be going into the Christmas weekend, I think, with a west to southwest wind blowing around and maybe a few showers. It'll feel kind of normal, I think, for this time of the year. Hopefully we can get some settled weather for Christmas Day. We'll try and lock that in soon. The maps keep changing, and it's a little bit like, I said to someone the other day, the long range models, a little bit like an aeroplane taking off, and you set your coordinates, but you get it wrong by 5 degrees. So for the first hour or two, you won't notice it, but 12 hours later, you're landing in a different country. So the long range models behave in a similar way. They just get a little bit wrong and it goes out this way, and suddenly the big low that's over New Zealand is now 1,000 kilometers in a different direction. So the closer we get to the date, the more accurate the models usually get. So we should have a better idea, I think, if not by Friday, certainly by Monday next week. We'll try and bring you the earliest coverage we can, though obviously many people are wanting to know how that weekend is shaping up. And my gut instinct at this stage is maybe the west to southwest winds might be blowing through. We'll try and confirm it soon for you. That's all from me for today. We'll update you again on Friday.